Round 10 AFL action kicks off tonight, and this weekend is sure to be a big one. A handful of games could be season-defining at this point in the competition. A player captains their side for the very first time, and we see the first of the bye rounds. All this and more in the upcoming installment of AFL 2018 season predictions, teams, and tips.
His name is Godzilla.
What's going on, Godzilla Nation? This is Godzilla back again with another AFL teams and tips video. Thank you for joining me. As always, we are turning attention to round 10. We're almost halfway through the season, and there are a couple of games going down this weekend that could just well be season defining for certain teams. But before we get the lineups and predictions underway, I want to thank you all for all the support you have thrown behind this initiative on the channel thus far. Welcome to any brand new Godzilla Nation members that have jumped on, and if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and get on board the Godzilla Nation. I appreciate all of your support. I cannot thank you guys enough. Don't forget, we are on the road to 500 subscribers this year. We are almost at the 400 mark. With your help, my dreams can become my reality. But with that all being said, it is time to turn our attention to Friday night football. Kicking off at Etihad Stadium, we have the Collingwood Magpies taking on the Western Bulldogs. Looking at the lineup for Collingwood, Ben Reid, Josh Dacos and Levi Greenwood all come in for the side. Alex Fasolo out with an injury. Daniel Wells has been managed, and Sam Murray, the rookie, has been omitted. I really don't understand that decision. Sam Murray has been a shining light for Collingwood all year, and last week he didn't have a bad game. He actually was pretty serviceable in their win. So very questionable that he got dropped, but regardless, it's happened. We move on to the Bulldogs lineup, which sees Josh Shackey, originally from the Brisbane Lions, now playing for the Bulldogs, debut for the Dogs, with Tory Dixon and Rourke Smith coming into the lineup. Lucas Webb, Josh Dunkley, Mitch Wallace, all omitted from the team, coming from that huge loss they suffered last week against Adelaide. And looking at the lineups here, I am going to have to run with my gut. I'm going to go with Collingwood just. I think Collingwood will just get over the line, even though the Bulldogs midfield is starting to find form. Jackson McRae, he's having 35 to 40 touches every week, even when they're getting dominated. So he's going to lead the charge, but I think the Pies are just going to get the job done over the Bulldogs to kick off round 10 action. Probably a little bit controversial, but I think Brodie Grundy running too good of a form to be pipped at the line by Jordan Roughhead. And even though players like Dalhouse and McLean and McRae are getting up and about for the Dogs, I think players like Treloar, Scott Pendlebury, Tom Phillips, Steele Sidebottom, Jordan De Goey, they're just starting to step up their game that little notch, and I think that's where the ball is going to be won. Collingwood for me to kick off round 10 action. We move to the first game Saturday afternoon at the MCG. My boys, the Richmond Tigers, taking on St Kilda. The axe has been swung at Richmond with Sam Lloyd and Jacob Townsend both chopped from the lineup. Jason Castagna out with an injury. Jack Higgins, Callum Moore and Connor Menadue all come in to the lineup. Callum Moore is a big unit, so he's going to be able to chop out with Toby Nankervis in the ruck, and Connor Menadue, arguably one of the fastest kids in the competition. Actually, scratch that, fastest player in the competition is back into the lineup. He is going to add a lot of speed, a lot of finesse to the Richmond outfit. Looking at St Kilda, there's been some big changes both through omissions and injury. Logan Austin, Jake Carlisle, Brandon White, Paddy McCartan, and Daniel McKenzie all come in. Logan Austin debuting for St Kilda. Out of the side, Nick Caulfield is being managed. Rowan Marshall and David Armitage have both been omitted, with Maverick Weller and Nathan Brown out due to injury. I am backing my boys to bounce back big time at the MCG. The stats don't lie. We are running a very hot streak on that track. And I think with players like Mav Weller, David Armitage, Nathan Brown taken out of that side, it leaves a bit of a gap. And I think Richmond should get the job done by at least 8 goals. That's probably a bold prediction, but with the beating they copped by West Coast last week, the Richmond fire is going to be fueled very intensely and they're going to want to bounce back hard. Unfortunately, St Kilda is the club that is going to cop that mauling. Sean Grigg plays game 200 for both Richmond and Carlton combined. Milestone for St Kilda. Jade Gresham plays game 50 for the club. But unfortunately, Jade Gresham's game is going to be marred by a Richmond roar. Turning our attention to the Gabba later on Saturday afternoon, Brisbane Lions hosting Sydney Swans. Brisbane go unchanged, and why would you change after the huge win they amassed against Hawthorn last weekend at the G? Dane Zorko taking charge, his first official game as captain. You can bet the boys are going to be up and about after the surge they had last weekend. Looking at the Sydney lineup, Harry Marsh and Riley Stoddart come in. Riley Stoddart on debut. Callum Mills out with an injury and looks like his season is done and dusted, which is unfortunate because he is such a great footballer to watch. Gary Rowan has been omitted. Tom Papley plays game 50 for the club. I am going to back the Sydney Swans to get it done. I think with Hanbury and Franklin coming back into the lineup we saw last week, they add such a level of depth to that club. However, I'm backing the Brisbane Lions to come out and put on a great performance. They are not going to get blown out of the water. They are going to compete from start to finish. And Brisbane's future prospects are starting to look a hell of a lot brighter after the effort they showed they can pull out last weekend. Turning our attention to the GMHBA Stadium, Geelong taking on Carlton. It is the first time since 1996 that Carlton has played Geelong in Geelong. That is absolutely incredible. I don't know how a stat like that can even be created. There are some big ins and outs for both teams, starting with Geelong. Asava Radigalia, Reece Stanley, Jermaine Jones and Brandon Parfitt all come in for Geelong. Jermaine Jones on debut for the club. James Parsons, Zach Smith, George Holland-Smith and Jackson Thurlow all omitted after their embarrassing loss to Essendon. The axe has been swung hard. In for Carlton, Jacob Wiedering, David Cunningham, Ed Curnow and Charlie Curnow. Mark Murphy out with that injury that he sustained last week, with Nick Graham, Jared Garlett and Aaron Mullett all omitted from the team. Even though Wiedering and the Curnow brothers are going to add a little bit of depth to Carlton, I am backing Geelong to bounce back. They were exposed big time last week, and Geelong are the type of club that if they get exposed and beaten badly one week, they bounce back ferociously the following, and this is unfortunately the week they play Carlton. Geelong dominate Geelong Stadium. I don't care what they call it now. Geelong Stadium is what I'm going to call it. That is where they play their best footy, and you can bet that they're going to put on a clinic against the Blues on Saturday night. We head over to Spotless Stadium, the last game Saturday night, with GWS Giants hosting Essendon. In for the Giants, couple of big names. Josh Kelly finally back into the lineup. Jonathan Patton comes in, and Matt Buntine comes in as well. Lachlan Keefe, Jeremy Finlayson and Isaac Cumming all omitted from the lineup. Lockie Whitfield playing game 100. In for Essendon is Andrew McGrath, and out was first gamer Dylan Clark. Didn't live up to the hype coming into that game. Jordan Ridley lives to fight another day after a very impressive debut. However, I am backing GWS to get it done over in GWS. North Melbourne tailed them up. GWS, once again, just like some other clubs, exposed badly. They will bounce back. Josh Kelly's going to add a level of finesse to that midfield they have been lacking for weeks. Jonathan Patton adds another firing powerhouse out of that forward line. Matt Buntine back in defence will help bolster their stocks there. Essendon will be competitive if they still continue on with that momentum they built from last week and play the same brand. But I think Giants, in a close game, will get the job done to round out Saturday night action. We look to Etihad kicking off Sunday. Hawthorn hosting top of the ladder West Coast Eagles in. And these are extended benches, so bear with me. Keep your eyes on the teams that will be dropped in the coming days for final selections. But James Frawley, Jaeger O'Meara, Jonathan Segler, Connor Glass, Will Langford and Ryan Schoenmakers have all been named as ins. Caden Brand and James Warple have been omitted. I am probably going to name out of those James Frawley and Jaeger O'Meara will be the two to come in to replace them. Looking at the Eagles, Jared Brander, Jack Nelson, Braden Ainsworth and Matthew Allen have all been named as ins, with Jared Brander and Matthew Allen named on debut. No outs, so they could potentially go unchanged. West Coast travel pretty poorly to Melbourne, but after the masterclass they put on against Richmond last week, I cannot back against the Eagles this weekend. They are the pivotal mark this season of the best brand of football currently running around. Jack Darling's going to be too strong. Him and Kennedy are going to combine for 8 goals between them, bare minimum. Mark Lacroix might snag a couple. Elliot Yo-Yo is going to go off the chain. West Coast comfortably by a few goals will get the job done to kick off Sunday afternoon. We head on over to Optus Stadium. Fremantle hosting the in-form North Melbourne, shocking a lot of people this season with the run they've had. In for Fremantle, Stephen Hill, Daniel Pearce, Shane Kirsten, Tommy Sheridan and Stephen Giro. Stephen Giro named to debut if selected. Mitchell Crowden has been omitted. Stephen Hill comes into that lineup straight away, in my personal opinion. Cam McCarthy plays game 50. Looking at North Melbourne, Taylor Garner, Nathan Hrovat, Luke Davies-Uniacke, Sam Durden and Cameron Zerha, all named as ins. Majak Daw is being rested. I'm backing Taylor Garner to get selected here. Todd Goldstein plays game 200. I am going to go out on a limb here, and I am backing North Melbourne to knock off Fremantle at Optus Stadium. Very big call, but the football I saw them play last week against GWS in the second half, they absolutely tore it up. If Ben Brown gets off the chain early against Fremantle, they are going to be playing catch-up all game. And this is coming from someone who tipped North Melbourne to win the Wooden Spoon, so that prediction you can throw out the window because that's not even going to happen at this point. But I'm backing the Roos to get up against Fremantle in Fremantle, which would be marked as a bit of an upset personally, but I'm going to back the Roos. The final game for round 10, obviously with the Gold Coast and Port Adelaide having their byes. Melbourne playing Adelaide Crows in Alice Springs, TIO Traeger Park. In for Melbourne, Dom Tyson, Cameron Pedersen, Jaden Hunt and Jeff Garlett. No outs named. In for Adelaide, Luke Brown, Matt Crouch, Wayne Malira and Riley O'Brien. No outs. This could be a big call here because Melbourne have only won 1 out of the last 4 games played at TIO against Adelaide. But I am backing Melbourne to get the job done against Adelaide. The brand of football they played last week against Carlton, even though Carlton, compared to where they're at of the ladder, is a bit of a lesser side to Adelaide, Melbourne still showed so much momentum, so much potential. They capitalised on every single opportunity they had. There's no way they're not going to take a 109-point win last week and transfer that momentum into this game. If Max Gawn can get that midfield going, they are going to be absolutely ran all over the top of Adelaide Crows. And I'm backing Melbourne to get the job done by at least 4 goals. Big call. Adelaide probably go into this game as favourite, but I'm still going to back the D's to get it done, to round out round 10. So to wrap up who we're backing Collingwood, Richmond, Sydney, Geelong, GWS, Eagles, North Melbourne, and Melbourne. Be sure to get your tips in the comment section down below. As I said, for Sunday's games, keep your eye out on social media for the updated teams for those games. But that's it for another episode, guys. Thank you for joining me as always. If you have been enjoying this series and everything I'm doing with the AFL this season, hit that like button, show your support. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, get on board the God Zero Nation. As I said at the start, if you have recently subscribed, I thank you so much for getting on board and pledging your allegiance to the God Zero Nation. Social media links are down below. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. You can hit me up on all of those. Hit that notification bell before you leave, so every time I go live or a brand new video comes to the channel, you get notified straight away. But that's it from me for another week, guys. Good luck to your teams this weekend. I'm out of here, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.